You grew up in California. Did you always want to be an actor or did you fall into it?
No, I fell into it. I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was a kid. I saw Top Gun when I was 9, and I just fell in love with aviation and Tom Cruise and the Navy and this idea that you could fly these airplanes. 9 years old, you know nothing. And
Right.
at the time, I thought that Tom Cruise was actually flying the planes, and that
Wait,
they just
I'm sorry.
incorporated that.
Tom Cruise is not flying the planes?
Well, evidently now he actually is.
But he wasn't then?
But back then, apparently it was just like a movie. It was make-believe, and Tony Scott just made it look like that. I was none the wiser. My mother let me have my fantasy.
Of course. We all want to believe that Tom Cruise does everything. And I'm sure he does now. The more famous he's gotten, the more he's allowed to do it.
He has his own jets.
I know.
So that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And my whole life was predicated around that until I was about 11 or 12, and I had to get glasses because I couldn't see the chalkboard. And I was like, what is that?
Oh,
so I went in, the doctor, and then the moment he said, your vision isn't any good anymore at 11. And so I knew immediately that the dreams were quashed because you can't, at that time you couldn't, there was no remedy.
Right.
So I cried and went home and ate a bag of carrots, thinking that would fix my eyes because I'd heard the carrots were good for your eyes. And I'm like, this'll do it. I was crying and eating carrots.
No.
And my mom she just let me do it. And then once I got over that a couple of years later, that there was this idea that, Tom Cruise is an actor. He's just pretending, but you could always pretend to fly planes. You could pretend to be in a submarine. You could be a firefighter. You can do all these things if you're an actor, and that's an option. And I was like, that's really interesting. I love movies. I was a really geeky kid, and I'd come home and put in the VHS tape and watch, film in the afternoon instead of do homework. And so in that sense, I fell into it because I liked those things to watch and to the magic of it. And when I had an opportunity to try out for it, we took a shot, and they said, we're going to take you on consignment. If you do well, we'll keep working with you, this agency. If it crashes, we're going to kind of let you go and you can go about your life. And since then, I just haven't quit yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even remember how old I was, Ian. I remember seeing you on Hercules. Like, I have a vivid memory of you then. And I don't even know, there's no concept of, I can't tell you like the episodes or anything. I don't even know if it's that I saw a picture of you, but I watched Hercules and Xena so much as a kid. And so when we first came in like the circle of each other and through Amphar and then, watching Teen Wolf and things like that, I was like, oh, I know Ian Bohen. I know Ian.
Right. Jogged your memory from the past.
It did. I was like, oh, that's right. Because you've been acting for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Very long
Over
time.
30 years now. Yeah. That was one of my first real solid professional jobs where a lot was expected of me. And the character was introduced, Young Hercules, within that show. And ironically, Kevin Sorbo and I had the same birthday, and we figured that out one afternoon.
Do you really?
Isn't that weird?
That's so weird.
We were in the trailer one day. We didn't obviously work together because we played the same character, but they were shooting different stuff. So we're in the makeup thing and getting done, and somebody said happy birthday to him, or happy birthday. And I think we both turned and said thank you, and looked at each other and was like, this is beyond bizarre. So yeah, that was a really good time. I learned a lot. And that was one of the first times where I had to decide, is this something now that you know what it is and the shell is kind of broken and you can see through it a little bit, do you really want to do it? And that moment has come up in my career three or four times where you have to decide, is this what I think it is?
Are you talking specifically about the career or the project?
The career.
Okay.
The entire majesty of film, the way I'd like to watch it when I was young, I wanted to be caught up in it. Once you're inside the sausage, as you know, it's a completely different thing looking out. So every 7 or 8 years, there would be a moment of, do you want to continue with this? Because there is a cost. And as I got older, I realized what the costs were, and they were mounting, and you can work with them and be okay, or you can decide it's not for me. Yeah. So that was a seminal point in my life, was doing Young Hercules. Yeah.
Because you when I was doing my research, I also like talking about it had this knowledge that you also weren't young Hercules, that there was another person. Was that a hard decision to choose not to do this series? Because you chose not to do that. That's a big thing to turn down when you're a young actor and you're just sort of starting out.
Unfortunately, I didn't have the right guidance and counsel at the time, and it was left to what was a 19-year-old who had no experience, little to no experience of the world. And I was caught up in, just sort of the daily life of a young person. I had a girlfriend back home and I wanted to play baseball, and I didn't have the ability to sort out what this meant. And I don't regret the choice. At the time, I made the choice that I could with what I had to work with. But it taught me a lot. I don't wish that I hadn't done it, but I understand what happened at the end. And I will always learn from knowing how I make decisions with what inputs. And so, yeah, it was tricky. It's definitely hard to make these life-changing decisions.
Did it burn bridges at the time? Like, was it actually something that affected your career, or did you just sort of go, I don't want to do this, and you came back and started auditioning again?
Pretty much. Yeah, exactly. I pretty much came back. At the time, they probably were pissed. Who knows? But, listen, they held auditions, and then Ryan Gosling was an unknown at the time, and he came in there like, this guy's great. We're going to hire him. And of course, that started his career, and look where he is. So, yeah, that's how it goes. You got to make a choice and stick with it.